Alright, welcome into Sunday edition of Sports with your man, Kerry Peck. We got a lot of college football scores to get to. We're going to get to Alabama and Texas A&M, and we're going to get to OSU and the Utah Utes. And we've got a lot of out-of-market interesting games and a lot of Major League Baseball games to get to, and have some interesting news about the Seattle Seahawks versus the San Francisco 49ers. So, without further ado, Jimmy, hit the theme music. Right. Yeah, okay. So, we're going to kick things off with college football scores. So, we got, this is from Saturday, yesterday, so if you're into sports like I am, you've probably already seen all these scores, but I'm going to go ahead and run through them anyways. And I've got, so I've thrown in some Major League Baseball scores, and I have the results from the Floyd Mayweather and Alvarez fight thrown in there. So, anyways, let's get started. Okay, so, unless I say otherwise, well, I'll let you know when it's Major League Baseball and when it's college football. Okay, we'll get started with some college football. Okay. Louisiana Monroe versus Wake Forest. Final score is 21-19. The victor in ACC action is Louisiana Monroe. And then we have Iowa versus Iowa State, 27-21. Iowa State, Iowa, the victor. Moving into an SEC game, we have Mississippi State versus Auburn. Mississippi State is the victor at Auburn is the victor with the score of 20-24. Moving on, Stanford versus Army. Stanford is the victor at 34-20. Then we have Tennessee versus number 2 Oregon. Oregon is the victor with a score of 59-14. OSU, that's Ohio State, versus Cal. OSU, Ohio State, is the victor with a score of 52-34. Moving into Louisville versus Kentucky. Louisville is the victor with a score of 27-13. Moving into Nevada versus number 10 Florida State. Florida State is the victor with a score of 62-7. Moving into Akron versus Michigan. Michigan is the victor with a score of 28-24. Moving into number 19, Washington versus Illinois. Washington is the victor with a score of 34-24. Okay, moving into the marquee out-of-market SEC game, we have number 1 Alabama versus number 6, Texas A&M, in College Station in Texas. Alabama is the victor with a score of 49-42. Okay, moving into the Pac-12, our Pac-12 matchup. OSU, Oregon State Beavers versus the Utah Utes. In OT, OSU, Oregon State Beavers are the victors with a score of 51-48. And a quick injury report, Storm Woods was injured late in the game. He was carried off on a stretcher and an ambulance. So, my best wishes go out to Storm Woods and his family. We hope that he gets better, because he was a good player for us, and hopefully he'll come back and be able to play for us. Okay, moving on to Notre Dame Fighting Irish versus Purdue. Notre Dame is the victor with a score of 31-24. Okay, moving into our third Pac-12 game, we have Wisconsin versus Arizona State. Arizona State is the victor with a score of 32-30. Then we've got Ole Miss versus Texas Longhorns. Ole Miss is the victor with a score of 44-23. Okay, we got UCF versus Penn State. UCF is the victor with a score of 34-31. Okay, we're gonna move on. We got an MLB game for you here. Cubs and Pirates. Pirates beat the Cubs 2-1. Then moving back into college football, we have Georgia Tech versus Duke. Georgia Tech is the victor with a score of 38-14. And then we have Wagner versus Syracuse. Syracuse is the victor with a score of 54-0. Moving into Kent State versus number 8, LSU. LSU is the victor with a score of 45-13. Then moving into Vanderbilt and Carolina. Carolina is the victor with a score of 35-25 over Vanderbilt. Moving on to Fordham versus Temple. Fordham is the victor with a score of 30-29. Moving into Eastern Michigan versus Rutgers. Rutgers is the victor with a score of 28-10. Then we got Stony Brook versus Buffalo. Buffalo is the victor with a score of 26-23. Okay, I have a MLB score for you. We got the Mariners versus the Cardinals. The Mariners were the victor with a score of 4-1. Okay, moving back into college football, we got Lamar versus Oklahoma State, OSU. Oklahoma State, OSU, is the victor, 59-3. Then moving on to UCLA versus Nebraska. UCLA is the victor, 41-21. Okay, I have a whole slew of MLB games here. So we got the Yankees versus the Red Sox. The Red Sox were the victor with a score of 5-1. Then we got the Kansas City Royals and Detroit Tigers with a score of 1-0. The victor being Kansas City Royals. Okay, we have the Baltimore Orioles with the Blue Jays in a final score of 3-4. The Blue Jays were the victor. And now we got the San Francisco Giants versus the LA Dodgers. San Francisco Giants 19, Dodgers 3. Giants win. Okay, now we're moving on to Merriweather and Canelo Alvarez. This was the big boxing match this weekend, featured on pay-per-view in Las Vegas and throughout the world. Floyd Mayweather defeats Canelo Alvarez in a majority decision. This means there was not a knockout by Mayweather, and it went to the judges. So there was one judge who called it, who couldn't decide, and that's brought up some controversy. But anyways, okay. Moving back into college football, we got Marshall and Ohio. Ohio is the victor with a score of 34-31. An MLB score for you. We got Florida Marlins versus the New York Mets. With a score of 3-1. The Mets are the victor over the Florida Marlins. We have the LA Angels over the Houston Astros in MLB action with a score of 6-2. Angels win. Okay, moving into some Big Ten college football action. We have Kansas versus Rice with a score of 23-14. Rice is the victor. Okay, we got New Mexico versus Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is the victor with a score of 49-27. UMass and Kansas 7-37. Kansas is the victor. Georgia State versus West Virginia. West Virginia is the victor, 41-7. Fresno, okay, a note here, Fresno versus Colorado was postponed due to rain and heavy flash floods, because evidently they had to close down Colorado University and a whole bunch of their schools and their school system because of all the flash floods down there. We wish all the people in Colorado who are struggling from flash floods right now all the best, and be safe out there. Hopefully the rains will subside and the floodwaters will recede and you'll be able to move back in and salvage what's left of your lives. Anyways, moving on, we got Southern Utah versus Washington State with a score of 48-10. Washington State is the victor. Alright. We got UTEP at NM State. With a score of 21-42, UTEP is the victor. Ball State versus Northern Texas, 34-27. Northern Texas is the victor. Memphis versus Mid-10. Mid-10 is the victor with a score of 17-15. Maryland versus UConn. Maryland is the victor with a score of 32-21. Beth Cook versus FIU. Beth Cook is the victor with a score of 34-13. VA Tech, that's Virginia Tech, I assume, versus Eastern Carolina. VA Tech is the victor, 15-10. Western Illinois versus Minnesota, with a score of 29-12. Minnesota is the victor. Southern Miss versus Arkansas, with a score of 24-3. Arkansas is the victor. FAU versus South Florida, with a score of 28-10. FAU is the victor. NW State versus Cincinnati, victor with a score of 66-9. Youngstown versus Michigan State. Michigan State is the victor with a score of 55-17. BC versus USC. USC is the victor with a score of 35-7. West Michigan versus Northwestern, 38-17. Northwestern gets the victory. Okay, we got an MLB game for you here. Cleveland Indians versus Chicago White Sox. Cleveland Indians are the victor with a score of 8-1. Texas San Antonio versus Aria. This is college football again. We got a score of 13-38. Ariana is the victor. BGSU versus Indiana. Indiana is the victor with a score of 42-10. Okay, Albany Great Danes, go Albany, versus Rhode Island. Rhode Island is the victor with a score of 19-13. Navy Midshipmen versus Delaware. Midshipmen 51, Delaware 7. Victory goes to the Midshipmen. Air Force versus Boise State. A score of 42-20. Boise State is the victor. Central Connecticut State Blue Devils versus Holy Cross, with a score of 52-21. Holy Cross is the victor. Old Dominion versus Howard. Howard is the victor with the score of 76-19. And that's it. That's all we got for you. From yesterday. Yeah, we did Tennessee and Oregon We did Alabama and Texas A&M. So we got Rutgers. I was gonna have Rutgers in here, but I might have. Yep, we got Rutgers. And I was gonna put Temple in there, but I guess I forgot. Well, we will get Temple next time, folks. Okay, so, yeah. Moving into Sunday football, the one game that I know about is the Seattle Seahawks versus the San Francisco 49ers. So, some things I heard about this game. You might have heard this, you might not have heard this, but in Seattle today, at the game today, they are expecting a record-breaking crowd because there is an unofficial group that is trying to break the Guinness World Record for the loudest stadium. And if you don't know, you might know, but if you don't know, Seattle Seahawks Stadium is notorious in the NFL for being loud. They have a notorious record that starts by an opponent because things are so loud. That means that your opposing team can't communicate efficiently enough that they end up false starting because it's so loud. So, the current record is held by a soccer team in a Dutch soccer team. So the record is 131 decibels, and the loudest ever recorded at Seahawks Stadium in Seattle was 106 decibels. So today, the crowd must reach 132 decibels at least to break the record. So, and then another thing that I was reading today about the Seahawks game is that the police plan on having undercover cops in the audience, or in the crowd, if you will. But get this, here's the kicker. Here's what makes this funny and weird. These cops are going to be dressed as 49ers fans. And they're going to be there to try and make sure that people stay in line and don't get too rowdy and stuff. But who's going to listen to a 49ers fan at a Seattle Seahawks game in Seattle? I mean, yeah. I mean, if you're sober, if you're not sober, forget about it. Who's going to listen to the guy, right? I mean, if you're a Seattle Seahawks fan, you're not going to listen to the guy. What does he know, right? If you're a 49ers fan, yeah, you might listen to him. Anyways, this is not just because of what's going on today, but there's been a high number of incidences of fans getting out of control at major league sporting events. Not just in Seattle, and not just with the Seattle Seahawks, but in Major League Baseball and at other NFL football games and MLS soccer games. And so this is an attempt to try and control that. Whether or not it's successful, I don't know. And in the article that I was reading about this, there was a hint to maybe, if it's successful, this might expand to other NFL venues or other major league sporting events. I don't know. I think major league sporting events are probably already secure enough as it is, because we've got the TSA there checking everybody's bags. And you know, with the NFL, you can only have their clear bag, and you can only have so much in that clear bag that they have to see through. And you can't bring in alcohol, guns, explosives, any of that stuff, right? Just like you can't do that on the airplanes, which is probably a good thing, I'll admit. Not just because there's terrorists, but, you know. But, I mean, you can't bring in your own alcohol, but they let you buy alcohol there. I guess the point being there is that at least there in the stadium, at the point of sale, they might be able to restrict your consumption a little bit. You know, if the person behind the counter looks at you and is like, this person is a little drunk, maybe had a little bit too much, they can refuse to sell you alcohol. Even at a bar, you know, a good barkeep can do this because the barkeep does not want to lose his liquor license. And even at a concession stand inside a stadium, they wouldn't want to lose their liquor license either. So, but I suppose if you have the money and if you have another person go buy your beer, you can have all you want. But anyways, okay. A little note on this is a shout out to my friend Morgan Anderson, a cross country at Oregon State in her, I think it's her first or second year. What's this? There she is. She's the one in the front with the OSU on her chest. Yeah. I think I was a sophomore or a junior when she came into the cross country program at Silverton High School, and so she was like one or two classes below me, and I went to her graduation 2 years after I graduated, and I knew she was going to go to Oregon State, and I told her that I would follow her career there. So this is the first article I've seen on her, so hopefully this was an article put out by Our Town, which is a local publication for Silverton, Mount Angel. Anyways, hopefully the Appeal Tribune, which is the local paper in Silverton, and Our Town will pick up more stories on Morgan Anderson. Yeah, so if you get Our Town or if you get the Appeal Tribune, read the story about Morgan Anderson if you live in Silverton. Keep following her. Yeah, I think maybe, yeah, I can just read it. The old adage, the more things change, the more they stay the same, certainly holds true for Silverton's long-distance phenomenon, Morgan Anderson. Once an ardent Ducks supporter, as the daughter of a University of Oregon alum, she wound up studying and running at Oregon State. Once the leader of the pack at Silverton High School, she had a new view her freshman year. Being a freshman again really wasn't that bad. My teammates were all very welcoming, and the initiation process was practically non-existent, Anderson said. The biggest challenge was having so many teammates who were all incredibly talented and fast. At Silverton, Anderson was peerless. She holds school records for the 3,000 meters, 1,500 meters, the senior class record for the 800 meters, and was a member of the record-setting 4x4 relay team. She went to OSU with a complete resume. But all the hype didn't go to her head. According to OSU cross-country and track and field head coach Kelly Sullivan, "I'm very pleased with Morgan. She's got great character, is a great student, she has a great family, and is a team person. She fit in well and is very coachable," Sullivan said. "She's a great young lady." Sullivan and his program also have the new Wyatt Track and Field Center to show off. The facility was boon for Anderson. "Coming in as a freshman, I got the privilege to have a new track to use right off the bat. I got pretty spoiled," she said. But in October of 2012, Anderson suffered a nose fracture and a concussion in a bicycle crash that sidelined her for the rest of the cross-country season. Add to that a bout with monoculus, sorry for my pronunciation, before the spring track season, and it looked to be a bleak beginning. Sullivan decided to redshirt her. NCAA athletes are eligible to compete in their respective sports for up to 5 years, but can only compete in uniform for 4 years. The odd year out is deemed a redshirt. Anderson trained and competed alongside her teammates, and her times were noted with those of her teammates, but she was listed as unattached. That also means that she has 4 more years to compete and improve. I sometimes pace myself to a point that I don't take risks in a race and play it too safe. So right now I'm working on overcoming that mental block and having confidence in my ability to push myself in a race and be able to finish strong," Anderson said. Sullivan sent her and her teammates suggested workouts for the summer. "All summer training is optional due to NCAA rules," Anderson said, "but if you don't show up in shape the first day, you're off to a slow start." The amount of running was a drastic change for Morgan. In high school, Anderson would run 20 miles a week in track and field and 25 miles a week in cross country. At OSU, the low end of Anderson's running is 40 miles a week. The high end is 50. That's a lot. When people think of Anderson, they think of the runner and student athlete dressed in black and orange. That hasn't changed. Neither has her goal setting. "This season, I want to race at the Pac-12 meet, and I would like to get to 21 minutes for 6 kilometers, Anderson said. "OSU has been very good to me. In high school, I never thought I'd call Corvallis home, much less be a proud Beaver. I'm really excited to keep exploring my major, exercise in sports science, this year, and to utilize even more of what OSU has to offer." So, anyways, that's the little blurb on Morgan Anderson. That girl right there. And OSU track field cross country. I look forward to hearing more about cross country at OSU and track and field. So, as soon as I get to the San Francisco 49ers and Seattle Seahawks game, I will have that updated, and I'll have a bunch of updated scores from the rest of the games today as soon as San Francisco and Seattle are done. Anyways, okay, I'll leave the video open for comments, and don't forget, watch Sunday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, and Monday Night Football. Sports Center on ESPN. Let's see, College Football Live, BCS Countdown, hashtag Beavers for Beavers fans, Mariners All Access, and Seahawks All Access, and ESPN FC report. That's soccer report. Their soccer report show. It's like an hour or a half. They cover MLS and everything in the world of soccer. Anyways, oh, and Talkin' Ball and Talkin' Beavers and College Game Day every Saturday, 9 a.m. And follow me throughout the rest of Major League Baseball and NFL season and college football season. And when basketball gets started, I'll have NBA scores, and maybe from time to time I'll have WNBA. And now that I'm doing sports stuff, from time to time maybe I'll have Major League Soccer stuff, and I'll get more stuff from the Pac-12 following the Beavers in everything they do. Oh yeah, if you're a Pac-12 fan, watch the Pac-12 networks and log on to the computer and go into pac12.com. You can get all the schedules for all the sports for all the 12 teams in the Pac-12. Every Sunday you can watch Oregon Sports Final, and every Sunday or Saturday evening they have College Football Final on ESPN. Check your digital guide for channels on all the programs I listed. I could tell you them, but they're not going to be the same for everyone because not everyone lives in Salem, Oregon or has Comcast. Some people I know have Wave broadband. Anyways, okay, yeah, I'll leave the video open for your comments, and you can find me on Facebook at Kerry Peck. That's KeriPeck. Yeah, if you like OSU, go to Bing and type in OSU. I'm sure they have a website. You can look at all the sports stuff and whatever else whatever else they have out there. Okay, I just ask that you be polite and courteous to everybody on the internet, because we don't like internet bullies. Right, I'll leave it open, the video open for your comments and video comments. Don't forget, I'm reminding you that I want to see your video responses. I want to for college football, get your buddies together around a camera, whether it's computer cam, or you have a camera on a tripod, or you have whatever. Just get your friends around some kind of camera, and whether it's from your cell phone or whatever, and get all of your college football gear on, and then I want you to be as rowdy and crazy as possible with food and drink and the rowdiest, craziest college football fans. Winning video. I'll pick a winning video, and those people will get bragging rights for a year. And so you have until like November 29th to send in those videos. And OSU Beaver fans, don't forget, I want to see your videos of your best chainsaw impressions. Like this, Alright? Yeah. Okay, if you're a Beaver fan, you'll know what that's about, because you know they have the chainsaw noise inside Reser Stadium. So I want to see your best chainsaw noise impressions. Okay, just send them in to this video response, and I'll look at those and check out my other videos. So if you like this video, hit the like button down below, and maybe head on over to the main page of the channel and check out all the other videos. If you like some of those, maybe think about subscribing, and so you can get updated after you've gone in and checked your subscriptions in the box that says update me when this person uploads a new video, so that you know automatically in your email when I've uploaded a new video. Alright? That's it. Alright. Yeah, let's send it out with the theme music again.